Hey there, sweet friends. Welcome back. I hope you are all well. We're getting ready for the holiday season, and if you're anything like us, you do have families scattered across the country, and so it makes sense that you would want to offer gift cards rather than actual gifts so that they can go to a store and pick out what they want. And I do want to have a way to present that gift card in a little bit nicer way, and so I have this greeting card here, and I have a built-in pocket in the front. So you can see there is room to add a perfect sentiment for the person that you are giving this card to, and then also the pocket in front, which is perfect for those gift cards. And so it does make it a little bit more of a special presentation. And so I'm going to show you, this is really fast and easy, and you can knock quite a few of these off pretty quickly. And I think that will be a nicer way to gift for your family and friends. So if that sounds good to you, then stick around and we will make it together. So we've got this Christmas Joy collection from Echo Park, and you might remember this from the haul that we shared before our Christmas in July series. And I will say this is probably my most favorite collection of the whole season. It has traditional colors and they are very rich and deep, but the collection has whimsical images paired with that, and so I think it is absolutely perfect for our gift card greeting card today. I'm just going to demonstrate the envelope with this piece of white paper. It's a little bit easier for being on camera, and I have this cut to be 8.5 by 8.5. It's 65-pound weight cardstock. The cardstock that I'll be using for the finished project is 80 pounds, and so it is comparable, maybe just a little bit thicker. I will be using my envelope punch board, and I'm reading the measurement that is indicated here on this line, which will be impossible for you to see, but I will read this. 8.5 by 8.5 will get you a 5 by 5.5 envelope, and the score line is going to be at 4 1/8. So let's just start by punching this and scoring. And I'll line that score line up and repeat that process until I have finished all the way around. And so now I have all that scoring and punching done, and I want to fold in the sides, and I'm going to have the taller side be my height, and then the narrower side is going to be the width. So I will just fold in 3 of those flaps, and it's not going to matter that there is a bit of an overlap here because the second section that we add will cover that up. Before I fold this, though, I do want to bring it to my scoreboard, and I'll line up that top score line along one of the grooves, and then I will count over 1/4 inch. This is going to allow us to have room on the inside for the bulk of the layers that we want to add. So you can fold that now and then fold on the second score line. And I will switch to the colorful cardstock that I want to use for my finished project. So I picked this green, and that is going to coordinate so well with that collection. And I do want this to act as a traditional greeting card, so I do need to add a layer that will fold over the top. And so I have cut a second piece of my cardstock to be 11 high by 5 1/4 wide, and then I scored it at 5 1/2. So exactly half of that. What I want to do is position this so that I have it nice and square and even along the bottom and the sides. And I have added a little bit of my double-sided adhesive there. I'll come back in with my Tombow for my 2-glue combo. And just add a little bit here. And then I'll just fold this over and press that into place. And then I'll come back in with that Tombow again and press over the other side. So that flap is going to pulled the front cover on. So you can see now that this will be perfect when you open it. Then we're going to have the envelope inside. So let's just go ahead and add some pattern paper. I want to do this before we close up this envelope so that we can get it inside. I have a pattern paper measurement of 5 3/8 by 5 1/8. So we are going to get the border of that colorful cardstock. I want to just center this between those score lines. And then I will add the same pattern to the top flap. And so that will just make it a little bit more special when they open up this gift card, greeting card. Now you see when this is folded how nice that will look. So I do want to add my pocket section for the front, and that's what we're going to use for our gift cards. And so I do have this next piece of paper, and it is going to be measured at 5 1/2 by 5 1/4, and then I'm scoring it at 3 1/2. So basically I'm going to cover the overlap, and then I'll also get that pocket in the front. And so I do want to cover the back of this as well. And so I have my pattern paper here cut to be 3 3/8 by 5 1/8. And I'm just going to alternate those patterns so that they will be definite layering patterns and not look too busy. Let's just center that. And then I'll seal up my pocket with just a little line of that tombow on each side. And then fold that over. I'll hold that in place while the glue sets up. And now I want to finish the front of this pocket with another pattern. And so this is going to be cut at 1 7/8 by 5 1/8. Want to continue working with my 2 glue combo and add this to the front of the envelope. And since it is cut to be the same width, I can just line it up by connecting those corners and making sure that it is straight and even going across the side and the bottom. It is a good time now, I think, to finish the back before we put on any additional bulky items. So this is going to be the same measurements as those full-size pages. I believe you could easily swap out the theme for anything like a birthday or a housewarming where you would want to include a gift card but make the presentation a little bit more special. And so now I want to put inside an insert that will be the greeting card section, and so you could add your sentiment. I have a piece of non-contrasting pattern, did not come from this collection, but if you wanted to use a darker, more vibrant contrasting pattern, I would recommend adding an additional area for the sentiment to be added. But I do have the same cardstock, and it is cut to be 5 1/2 by 5. You do want it to slip down into that pocket easily. And then the pattern paper is 5 3/8 by 4 7/8. And so my intention for this one would be that someone could just write out their greeting here and then tuck it into the back. And you see that is very accessible when you open the top flap. So let's work on the front cover now, continuing on with that same full page measurement, but I did add some of the offcut from our pocket on to here. So just layering up some pattern gives this a little bit of extra detail. And so I do want to have that beautiful red paired with those darker background and flowers. And so I did die cut my little rectangular doily here, and I do want to position this a little bit right and lower than center just to make room for the embellishments that I want to add. And so I have this right here. Easy to get things lined up when you've got a grid underneath. And then I'm using one of the cut apart images as my focal image, and I put that up on spacers so I can develop some dimension here on the cover. So I just got a very compact arrangement here with some made by me flowers and then some die cut foliage and some beautiful trim. I will add my charms underneath that because we don't have as much room on the cover as we typically would. So let's add that with a little hot glue. And then finish that off with our flower arrangement. And then I do also want to include some sequins for some additional detail and a little bit of sparkle. So let's add those with our tombow as well. Putting one up on the raised section and then two down onto the base. So let's just enjoy this closed, and it looks like a regular traditional greeting card, but then when we open it, it's going to have the section for our sentiment to be added. And then remember this front pocket. So here's where you would put your gift card or multiple cards if you were so inclined, but I'm just sharing this with my Kroger card that it is going to be front and center when you open it, and it will be a little bit nicer a presentation for this thoughtful gift. So that's going to be it for today. I sure do hope that you enjoyed this quick and easy tutorial. If you did, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day. And I thank you so much for watching. Bye.